Here are your answers to 50 through 55. "50 says, which of the following represents a linear function? So we want to know which one of these equations would be a line if we graphed it. Well, look and see if any of them look familiar to you. Do any of them look like things that we graphed and we got a line when we graphed? Well, B is slope-intercept form, right? So that is definitely going to be a line when we graph it. Just as some explanation, if the variable has an exponent in it, that's not going to be a line. So 2x squared, x cubed minus 4, those have different shapes. If x is in the denominator, that's not going to be a line either. We've not seen anything that looked like that. We will look next semester at equations that have an x squared. You'll deal with all those others in high school. Now, what about a table? In the table, how do we tell if a table represents a linear function? One thing you could do is graph them. You could plot these points, you could see if they made a line or not. That's one option. The other thing to do is to check the slope. We want to know which ones have a constant rate of change. Because if the rate of change is constant, then it's a line. So let's look at the slope from the table. So here we go up 2 over 1. That slope would be 2 over 1. Then we go up 3 over 1. Not a line because the change in y over change in x changes. So that one's not a line. Let's look at B. -5 to -1. What do? I go up 4. And -7 to -10, I go down 3. -1 to 2 is up 3, down 3. So my change in y over change in x is 4 over -3, 3 over -3. Those are not the same thing. Not a line. Let's look at C. -4 to -1. What do? That is up 3. 2 to 4 is up 2. -1 to 2 is up 3. 4 to 6 is up 2. 2 to 5 is up 3. 6 to 8 is up 2. So since the rate of change is constant, C is my answer. (52) Ask which of the following functions shows the greatest rate of change. Remember, rate of change is slope. So we want to know which of these has the biggest slope, the highest slope. Let's start down here at the equation. Y equals 4x plus 7. What's the slope of this line? 4, right? M is 4. So we know that one has slope of 4. Now, typically we would look at the steepness of these two. This line looks steeper, but notice the scales are different. So we've got to actually find the slope of these to see what our answer might be. So let's see. Here's a point, and here's a point. Here my slope, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 3. So my slope is 5 over 3. Is that bigger than 4? So we know that one doesn't have the greatest rate of change. Now, let's look at here. I know this is kind of fuzzy. What are we counting by here? We're counting by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. So when I do my slope triangle here, I'm going up 2 and over 1. So this has slope 2 over 1. Is that bigger than 4? Nope. And then if we look at C, we have to do it from the table. We go up 3. We go up 2. That's also not bigger than 4. So D has the greatest rate of change. All right, the graph below represents the number of miles that a car has been driven compared to the gas that the vehicle used. Use the graph to answer the questions. All right, 53 asks for at what rate is the car using gasoline? This is slope, right? So my change in y over my change in x, Draw your slope triangle. It looks like my change is 20 miles for 2 gallons, which is 10 miles per gallon, right? So that is A. Then the second question says write the equation of the information presented in slope-intercept form. Well, we just found M. M is 10. B is 0. So that would be y equals 10x plus 0. We know we wouldn't write that 0. So we get y equals 10x. '55 says, based on the information provided in the graph below, what is the initial charge that you will incur if you need to take a cab ride? That means what is the cab going to charge you just for getting in the cab? Not the cost per mile, but that initial, you're going to pay this no matter what. Well, remember that is B. That is your y-intercept. So you're going to look at the graph. Where does this cross the y-axis? It crosses the y-axis at 4. So your initial charge is $4.